Today we will start talking about our quest system. The quest system is quite complicated, so it won't fit in one video, but we will split it up in multiple parts. First of all, we need something to configure a quest. What rewards do we get? What level is the quest available in? And so on, so on. We also had, if you remember, we have this behavior tree where we can load, for example, a tree like this, and then we will be able to create a node where we can call the backend and get quests. This is how we will be able to determine which NPC holds which quest and the dialogue behind the quest and everything. But how do we configure a quest, for example? I made a Unity configuration which I want to show you, which is pretty close to our item editor. We have now a quest editor. And then the quest obviously has a name, it has a requirement, which level is needed to be able to get this quest, and it might be able to have a quest that needs to be done before we can actually do this quest, so we can have a quest series. Then we have some rewards which we can configure, which we get, and we have tasks that we need to do. And the task system I wanted to be as flexible as possible. So we needed to trick a little bit here, which I will show you. First of all, if this is a scriptable object, then our backend won't be able to load the scriptable object file. We could fix that, for example, if we check into scriptable objects for our tooltips, if you remember those, and if we check what they look like, then you will see they look pretty much like a YAML file. They are a YAML file, and we could pass that in the backend. That would be no problem, but I try to stick in the backend with JSON. So first of all, we need to create this UI, and then we need to save and load this UI from a JSON file. And currently, when you look at the end result, you will find out that we have a JSON file, and this JSON file holds our information. So let's start with the backend where we load the JSON file. So in the backend we have this quest class which holds a path. This is only be used by Unity, and it holds a Unity reference. So maybe we should put them together. For Unity quest editor. So what it holds a string name, an int level, a string pre-quest, and then a list of quest rewards. And quest rewards are basically string and int. I would love to make quest rewards a dictionary, but Unity editor and dictionaries are not the best friends, and developing a good dictionary editor, custom editor, is kind of a lot of work. So we roll with this one for now. And then I have an interface with task. The reason I want to have an interface with tasks is to be as flexible and to be able to add tasks as much as we want to, and to make the system more complex while the game is growing. And currently the task is quite simple. It has some functions which don't do pretty much for now, because this is part of the next video and the video after. The video series will be split in configuring, which we do now, then getting a quest, finishing a quest, and getting rewards. This will be how the series will go along with that. but I've put some thoughts into what I need to fulfill a quest task. So then we have a quest task which is quite obvious, kill mob XYZ and with a special amount. So kill 10 flowers, for example. And we know when the quest is finished, there's a quest tracking system which the backend needs to give us, because the backend will track if you killed enough mobs. And also inside the quest tracking, we also have the inventory. So when we have the quest collect 10 flowers, for example, then this will check against the inventory if enough flowers are available. And the unkilled is called by the backend whenever the player kills an enemy or a prop or anything, then this will be called with the given parameters, and it will return true if the backend needs to update quest tracking. So if there actually has been a change, and then obviously the backend will need to also inform the client about the update of the killed flag. Then we have an OR and an AND task, so we can chain different tasks together. For example, collect 10 flowers or collect 10 iron ore, and you can hand in whatever you want. But this is pretty much easy with the interface, because we chain the interface A and B, so we get 2 tasks, and then we can chain them with OR with an AND. But this gets really tricky when it comes to configuring this in Unity. So what we want to have is basically a file with a JSON serialization representation of this class. This is the goal for today. So in Unity, we can't simply serialize this class and everything, because it's not a scriptable object and it's not a mono behavior. And since our backend doesn't know anything about scriptable objects and mono behavior, it would be quite tedious to reference Unity libraries in the backend. This is something I really don't want to do. So we need to create a proper interface, what Unity will show us here. A simple way to do that is to create a scriptable object in Unity that represents the same structure basically. So we have the name, we have the level with the int range, then we have a pre-quest, and we have reward, our reward list. The request reward is serializable, so we can use them directly from the backend code. And then we have this quest editor abstract task, and here it's where it needs to be a little bit tricky to get Unity to do what I want to do. So what you can, Unity is fully able to have an abstract class inherit from a scriptable object, and you can assign anything that inherits from this one. So we can make our OR task, for example, and have it have 2 other abstract tasks, and we can make our inventory task inherit from abstract task, and this is assignable. And we make a create asset menu for everything to be creatable. And when we go to Unity, I have a special folder, resources quest task. Everything needs to be in here, else the system doesn't work, because it searches in this folder. And what I can do now is I can create quest, and maybe let's do an AND task. Let's call it video AND, then I know what I need to delete. And then we have those abstract tasks available for selection. And we have here, for example, kill 5 flowers. And we can drag that editor task in here, which is fine, which is exactly what we want to do. And we can drag something else or even the same in here. So we are able to create the task chain with AND OR. We could also make a text field and pass the text and make it typable commands, but I think it's easier to leverage the UI and is less error prone. What we can do then is in our quest editor quest, we can also reference this abstract scriptable object, and the player can pick it here and can drag it in and press save. Now comes the tricky part. We need to convert this quest editor object to our quest object in the backend. That's actually quite easy. And then we can save this to a JSON file, which we can load in the backend. So we have this window, but it's pretty much the same like the item editor. So we open the item editor, we have a list on the left side and the editor on the right side, and we create the list, and we have UXML and USS files accordingly. So the create item list view works exactly the same apart from find all items. Find all items in this case is a little bit different because we have JSON files and Unity doesn't understand JSON files, but I want to preserve those as files. And if you have something in the Unity resource folder, at the end, after Unity compilation is done, the files aren't files anymore. They are pretty much zipped into an asset file, and it's tedious to traverse them and everything. And I want to preserve them as files, and Unity has a special folder for that. If you have your folder in your asset directory and it's called streaming assets, everything in here will remain as files. So I have a streaming asset part, and then I have a subfolder called quests, and I search every .quest file in there. And for every .quest file, these are basically my JSON files, which is great. Then I see all those JSON files in here, right? Now we have pretty much the same thing that we have with item list view. When you click an item, then we fill this field. And this is basically, we just do the Unity basic, like we do with item. We create a serialized object, traverse it, and show all the bindings. There's two exceptions. One is we create a toolbar with a save button, because before that, when we change something, would synchronize our changes with a serialized object, a scriptable object, but we don't have a scriptable object. So we have a JSON file. Unity is not aware on how to do that, how to create a proper binding between those. The easiest way is to have a save file, save button, which when you press it, everything will be serialized in JSON. And this is what we do. But how do we load the file? Because this is a JSON file, and when we click here, the JSON file is loaded, and it's not a scriptable object. So we basically need to write loading and writing the JSON file, which is pretty fine. When we click the object, then we load the JSON file, which we have. We did it in find all items, then we pass them, and we already have the deserialized quest object. And we get the quest object in the list, and it is passed on to our on-item selection. So we have the quest object, but we need to create a descriptable object basically out of it. That's quite easy, because the scriptable object is actually instanceable with new. This doesn't work if you do it at runtime in the game, because there's no linking to your scene and everything, but we don't need that for now. So we can basically just do new scriptable object, and our scriptable object is the quest editor quest. And then everything that is in the JSON file we load in there. So now this scriptable object references another scriptable object, right? It references this task here, and we want to create the task. And the easiest way is to have a string where the name of the file here is actually in this Unity reference task. And then I can say resource load quest task and then the file, and this will assign the resource here properly. So this is what loading does. We create the scriptable objects, we fill in the fields, and then we reload the task from the file. On save side, basically the other way around. On save, it's pretty much the other way around. We load the name and level and all properties into our JSON object, and we save the name of the file to the Unity reference task. Now the complicated part is we need to pass the task, so the scriptable objects of the task, to our backend interface task versions of it. What I have done is pretty much get in the abstract task, and then I have cases for each task. So if the task is null, I return null, so we don't get a null reference error here. And then, for example, we switch over the task, and then if it's an OR task, then we return the OR task version of our backend version, which is JSON serializable. And then we pass A and B in here because they could be one of those again. And the same with AND. With mob we copy values, and with inventory we also copy values, and if we have more types of tasks then we can copy the values, and this way it is serialized into the JSON properly. So when we go back and look in our task, then we can see Unity reference task is collect or kill flower, which is basically the file name here. And if we load it, then the resource is loaded back from this file to here. So we can, for example, change that for now, save, and if I close the editor, open it again, click it, then collect 10 flowers is loaded, but I want to have the OR one. So I press save again, and now this whole chain also got into task. So we see here task, then it's the OR quest task, and it has a inventory quest, and it has on B the mob kill quest, which is what we configured. It's A is collect 10 flowers, which is inventory, and B is kill 10 flowers, which is this kill one. This is basically how we will configure, and then I made some changes. For example, when you change the name, let's maybe add a second, or maybe remove the 1 at the start, and we press save, then also the file name is changed. So when I refresh here, the file name is changed. This is what this code here does. It checks the old and the new file name, and if they differ, then it deletes the old file, saves the new path into the quest object, and saves it on disk, and then update the list again. So our editor is on par. So this might look, when I go over it, really simple, but coming up with the idea to abuse the scriptable objects to be selectable here took me quite a while, to be honest. But now we have in the backend fully capable to have the quest object without any Unity assembly reference, and we can load quest files also here in Unity with our custom editor here. Currently, when I want to create another quest file, I didn't make a button for that. Let's say we want to have collect 10 flowers as quest, then I need to copy the file or create a new empty file, which is fine. Oh, I actually made a problem here because it has the wrong name. So the best thing to do is just collect 10 flowers to have it an empty JSON object. Then my editor, we will be able to find that. We will make a create new. We make a create new button here. We will add that later. Collect 10 flowers, and then we have maybe level 2. We get a reward, because without reward, why would we do that? 10,000 and collect 10 flowers, and then we press save. Let's collect 10 flowers, and our JSON should be updated when Notepad++ will realize it, and we have the new JSON in here, which is just as task an inventory quest task with collect 10 flowers. And we will be able to configure pretty much everything. And if we need to add fields, it's quite easy to do now. When you first understood the structure to abuse here the scriptable objects to create those task chains, is quite easy. And in the next video, we will be able to leverage the dialogue tree, which we see here, the behavior tree. We will apply that to an NPC, and the NPC will be able to talk with the NPC and get the quest. That will be the next video. In this video, we are able to configure everything, and in the next video, we will make a start that we will be able to have a quest log and fill it with an NPC. And in the video after that, we will be able to fulfill tasks in the quest depending on how complicated things will get. But this is everything I have for now. I'm currently a little bit sick, so sorry for delaying videos and not being able to give as much new source code and developing as much for the game as you are used to. But still, we're making progress. I'm pretty happy that we can configure that now. Have a good day. Bye. Also, obviously, I want to thank my patron Julian for supporting this project.